Hey everybody, what's going on? Before we get into today's video, if you haven't already, look at the bottom right hand corner of this video and hit that subscribe button to this channel. Montreal Canadiens videos will be sent out every Friday and the topics range on a weekly basis, so you're going to see a lot of different things throughout the season. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the Inside the Draft video that the Montreal Canadiens put out yesterday. It was a solid 20-minute video, and it kind of gives fans a little bit of an insight into what goes on in their pre-draft meetings, including some of the interviews with the players prior to the draft, kind of getting to know them, asking some of the questions. And I obviously love these type of videos because it gives you a unique type of perspective that you don't really get otherwise. Of course, as fans, we're not privy to the conversations that go on behind closed doors. We don't really get the full sense of what goes on. So it's always interesting to me to see these type of videos produced, even if the Montreal Canadiens do control the narrative when they put out these videos. This is a video done likely by the marketing team because they want to put out good storylines surrounding the Montreal Canadiens. They're not going to put something out into the world that doesn't represent what they're trying to get across to the public. They're not going to put out bad clips in terms of arguing, in terms of different perspectives, in terms of things that might get them clicks for the wrong reasons. There was some really interesting clips put into this little docu-series, and I think that there's some value in looking at what was said, even if they are controlling the narrative. So I think I took a lot from these videos. I know there's some complaints because it's kind of a little bit challenging to always tell exactly who they're talking about in certain situations, especially when they use redacted clips to kind of go over certain players because they can't say the names because they're part of other teams' property now. So I think that kind of makes you wonder who they're talking about in certain situations. But I think they made it pretty clear in terms of what was going on during that video. They made David Reinbacher the star along with Jacob Fowler, the goalie that they drafted in the third round. And I think that there's a lot of bright spots for both of these two young players. Specifically with Fowler, I think his personality came across really strongly in this video, and he's someone that you can definitely root for because he has a strong personality, kind of someone that doesn't like to be doubted because he's been proving people wrong his whole entire life so far. And I think the Montreal Canadiens got a player with a chip on their shoulder, and one that, just like they kept saying continuously during this video, he just wins hockey games for you in goal. And I think there's a lot to like about this player as a future potential number one goalie for the Montreal Canadiens. Not just because of this video alone, but if you look at his statistics and what he's already brought to the table, he's someone that you can see being a number one goalie in the National Hockey League down the line. Obviously, there's still a lot of development ahead for him, but he's someone that certainly has that pedigree in order to do so. In terms of the discussion surrounding David Reinbacher, the Montreal Canadiens released certain clips leading up to their fifth overall selection that made you think it ultimately came down to two players. From my perspective, it looked as though the Canadiens were looking at David Reinbacher along with Ryan Leonard, and I think that's completely reasonable. You saw Jeff Gordon make his, I wouldn't say it was a pitch, but you saw him kind of talk about missing out on a potential game-breaking talent like a Matvei Michkov. You're not really hearing him say Michkov's name, but it's pretty evident that that's who he's talking about in that discussion. And although you're not really getting the full picture in terms of how Gordon was beating down the drum for this type of player, he's certainly giving you that other perspective and making sure that the people in the room are considering other names and not going into this nearsighted in terms of just looking at one or two players for the selection. It was pretty clear though watching this video that although they didn't really get into a deep discussion around certain players, they kind of really gave you a perspective that everyone was in unison in terms of what Reinbacher was going to bring to the table for the Montreal Canadiens moving forward. They continued to highlight that they're not looking for the best player right now. They're looking for the best player down the line and one that can help contribute to the Montreal Canadiens winning a Stanley Cup. So I think that there's some valuable insight that can be gained from watching these clips in terms of who has sway in the room. I came away looking at this video like a guy like Billy Ryan really has some ears in this room and someone that his opinion clearly holds some weight in the pre-draft process. So I think that's something to keep an eye on moving forward. But if you just look at what the Canadiens did here, they selected David Reinbacher, who evidently the team is very high on, and for good reason. This is someone that can be a solid two-way potential top pairing, puck-moving defensive defenseman, and someone that can really make a difference at the next level. But the Canadiens wanted to make sure that they know that the fans around them know that they passed on Matvei Michkov for a reason, and so did other teams as well. It's not just the Montreal Canadiens missing out on this player. Other teams saw the red flags as well. So I think that the Montreal Canadiens felt comfortable building this group from the back end, and we'll see if that works out in time. But that's the message that ultimately came across pretty clear to me in this video, is that they value right-handed defensemen very much, and that's going to be how they're going to build this hockey team. They believe Reinbacher is going to be a staple on their blue line for the next decade, and I can't really hardly blame them, judging by the clips that they showed in this video and how they portrayed these athletes as well. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. Let me know if you have watched this draft video below. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Let me know if you thought they should have gone a different way in terms of how they edited it. I thought they did a really good job, but there was also some pieces missing that would have helped fill in the puzzle a little bit more. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.